So today's video is on writing the value of a digit and giving the expanded notation of a number. Now they go together because when we write the expanded notation of a number, we have to tell the value of all of the digits. Now this word value, it means what a number is worth based on its place in the number. So let's say, for example, I had $53.72, and I wanted to know the value of the 5. Well, it might be a 5, but its value is not $5 because it's in the tens place. So because I have a 5 in the tens place, 5 tens would have a value of 50. So we need to report this value based on the place. Now, we have a place value chart that we've been using in class. And if you're at home, if you'll have your parents print it out, you could put it in a plastic pocket. If you have one of those binders that has the clear plastic cover, you could slip it in there and actually write on it with a dry erase marker. Or you could print out the paper copies and write on those. So we're going to do 3 examples together, and then I'm going to give you some where you pause the video. So I'm going to take my first number here, and I am going to put it into my chart. Now, if I look to the left of my decimal, I have a 0. So that's going to go directly to the left in the ones place. And if I look to the right, I have a 47. Now, notice I've got some empty spots on the end, and it's okay to have empty spots on the end. Now, I want to know the value of that 7. Now, the value is the digit and its place. So the digit is a 7. Its place is the hundredths. So its value would be 7 hundredths. Now I could report 7 hundredths either as a fraction or I could report it as a decimal. Now if we were doing the expanded form, we'd want to stop there. But because we do expanded notation, we want to actually draw it out to where we are doing the digit times its place. The digit times its place. So what digit did I underline? I underlined a 7. What place is it in? It is in the hundredths place. If I look above in the chart, it tells me the place in fractional form. Now I can also report that as a decimal. Now if I look below it, directly below the 7, where I hit the 1, that is what it would look like in decimal form. So it would be 0.01. Now because I should never have a decimal by itself, it should always be between 2 digits. I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 into my ones place. So it's 0.01 or 100ths. So watch me as I do it in a couple more. So 304. If I underline the 4, I would say, okay, the 4 is in, look on the top, it is in the thousandths place. So 4 times the thousandths place, that's the fractional form. Now I'm going to look below on my chart, and this is going to give me my decimal form. So 4 times 0.001. And remember, I probably want to put a 0 in my ones place. That's how you'll see it on any test. It'll have a 0 in the ones place. Okay, so let's do one more together. So I fill my number into the chart, building around the decimal. Now this time I want to know about the 6. So I tell the digit, multiply by its place. Its place is the tenths place with a THS. So there's my fractional form. And then as a decimal, if I look right below it, where my 1 is, it would be 0.1. So a 1 in the tenths place. And I'd want a 0 in front, so it would be 0.1, 1/10. So this is the 2 different ways you're going to be writing your value. Now go ahead and on your chart, fill in the number, and then I want you to give me the value as both a fraction and a decimal, and I want you to pause the video and see if you got it right before you move on to the next one. Okay, so fill it into your chart, underline your digit. Now pause the video. Now, did you get 9 times 1 over 100? And then the decimal form would be 9 times 0.01. That would be 100th, and then we want to put a 0 there as well. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. So fill in your number. Okay, so I'm talking about that digit right there. Pause the video and give me the value. So you should have gotten 4 times 10, and if it's a whole number, there's only one way to report a whole number. So let's go to the next one. So we're talking about this 9. Pause the video and give me the value. So the value is 900 or 900. You should have gotten 9 times 100. So the digit times its place. Okay, so let's fill in our next one. So we've got 82 and 927 thousandths, and we're asking about the 7. So pause the video, give it to me as both a fraction and a decimal. So you should have gotten 9 times 1 over 1,000. And then the decimal form, you should have gotten 9 times, that's the one that's under it, so 0.001, because that is a 1 in the thousandths place. And then let's put a 0 at the front. So that is 9 times 1,000. Let's see if we have any more. Okay, we got one more on the bottom here for practice. So I got 228. Okay, and I'm asking about this digit right here. So pause the video.
I'm getting my math test.
You should have gotten 2 times 1. So we just practiced doing the value of a bunch of numbers. Now we're going to do expanded notation. So expanded notation, you are giving the value of every single digit. So we're going to start by doing it in fraction form. So I'm going to fill my number into my chart. Now, I don't need to give you the value of a 0 because it has no value. So I'm going to start with the 3. Sorry, my phone is ringing at my house. Oh, well, it'd be lovely. It would not ring right now. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 3. So 3 times, what place is it in? It's in the tenths place. So 3 times the 10th. Now I'm going to put a plus sign because I would be adding it to the value of the next digit. So now my next digit is a 7, and it is in the hundredths place. So I put 7 times 100. Plus, now I'm going to do 8 times, and where is the 8? It is in the thousandths place. So this would be the expanded notation of the number that I just gave. So now on your place value chart, I want you to fill in the number, pause it, write the expanded notation, and then unpause it and see how you did. So let's fill it in. Now pause the video. So you should have gotten 2 times the tenths place plus 5 times the hundredths place. Okay, so we're going to clear it and get ready for our next one. So let's fill our number into our place value chart. Okay, now pause the video. So you should have gotten 4 times the ones place, plus I'm going to skip over that 0 because zeros do not have a value. They're not worth anything. I'm going to go over to the 1. So we're doing 1 times the hundredths place, plus my next digit is 7. 7 times the thousandths place. Okay, so you're probably doing pretty well with that. So I just reported it with a fraction. Now we can also report these same numbers as a decimal. So now we're going to practice doing the decimal form. So I'm going to start by filling it in again. Now I'm going to do 3 times, but instead of doing my fractional form, I'm going to look underneath my digit for the 1. So this one right there is the 1. So it's 3 times 0.1 because that 1 is in the tenths place. Now I want to put a 0 on the front of that number as well. Now my next digit is a 7, so I'm going to do 7 times, and I look underneath the 7, and I get 0.01 because I have to have 2 places over to have the hundredths place. Let's put a 0 on the front, and look, it looks kind of like 100 backwards. Now I'm going to go over to my 8, and I look underneath to find the decimal place. So I get 0.001. And remember, we want the decimal to be between 2 numbers, so we're going to go ahead and put a 0 in the ones place. So we're going to do our numbers again, and I want you to pause the video to see if you can write it this time in decimal form. So let's go ahead and fill in our number. Now pause the video. So you should have gotten 2 times 0.1. And let's go ahead and put a 0 in the ones place, plus 5 times 0.01. And let's go ahead and put a 0 in the ones place. Now we're going to do one more example. So let's fill in our number. Now pause the video and give me your expanded notation with decimals. So we have 4 times the ones place plus 1 times 0.01. That is how you would write the hundredths place as a decimal, and we need a 0 in the ones place. And then our final digit is a 7, and if we look underneath the 7, we see 0.001, because that is how you would write the thousandths place as a decimal. Let's put a 0 in the front. So hopefully you did okay with those. So we're going to practice now filling in a paper chart, because I can give you a blank place value chart, or you can draw a place value chart to use on a test or to help you on an assignment. But I'm not allowed to give you a labeled place value chart. So we had talked last week about labeling the top. We had said first find the ones place, which is always directly to the left of the decimal. Now as I go to the left, I would just put a 0 on that 1. So now I get 10. And then if I go to the left again, I would put 2 zeros to make 100, because it gets 10 times bigger as I go to the left. Now going to the right, I would start with the fraction 1/10, and then I would get the fraction 100th, and then I would get the fraction 1,000th. So that's how we're going to label the top. Now on the bottom, underneath the decimal, we are going to put a decimal. And then underneath this place, we're going to put a 1, because that place is 0.1. That is how the tenths place would look as a decimal. Now going underneath, I put another decimal, and this time under the 1, I'm going to put a 0, and the 1 goes in the spot on the end. So 0.01 is how I would write a hundredth as a decimal. Now I'm going to put another decimal, and then I'm going to put a 0, another 0, because the 1 only goes on the end, and I'm going to put a 1 in the last spot on the end. So it doesn't take long for me to number one of those charts, and then I can use it to give me the expanded form of the number. So this first one is 78 9/10. So now that I filled it in, I can see, okay, the 7 is in the tens place. I can see that the 8 is in the ones place. And I can see that the 9 is in the tenths place. So there's my expanded notation. Now, I want you to label the next chart, put the number in the chart, and then pause the video and see how you did. Actually, pause it now, do the labeling and everything, and then the expanded notation. So on the top, you should have gone 1, 10, 100, and then here 1/10, 100th, 1,000th. Okay, so 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. That literally only took me a couple seconds. Now I'm going to fill in my number. So 115. So I have a 1 in the ones place, plus I have a 1 in the tenths place, plus I have a 5 in the hundredths place. Okay, so we're going to do just one more practice problem, and then I'm going to tell you where you can access your DOL. And those of you that are at home, if you will please do your DOL. Hopefully you can do it on a piece of paper, or if you can print it out, that's even better, and you'll be able to keep up with class this week. So we got 3, 8, 0, 0. Oops, sorry, I forgot to do my chart first. Okay, so 1, 10, 100, 1/10, 100th, 1,000th. Okay, so 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. Okay, so now let me fill my last number in here, down here on the bottom. So this one. So I've got 380 and 9 thousandths. So I fill it into my chart. So hopefully you're pausing as you go so you can try this on your own. So I would do, okay, 3 was in the hundreds place, plus 8 was in the tens place, plus, this time I'm going to practice doing it as a decimal. The 9 is in the, okay, I need to look underneath, so 0.001, and remember we do want to put a 0 into the ones place. So that's how I would write that one out there. Okay, so your DOL is going to look a lot like this. Oh, one last thing. Sometimes they will give it to you in expanded notation, and then you have to give it back to them in standard form. So when they do that, you need to fill it into the place value chart. So if they say 5 times 10, put a 5 in the tens. If they say 3 times 1, put a 3 in the ones. 7 times 0.01. So I'm looking for the spot with 0.01. That's this one. And I'm going to put a 7. And then the spot that's 0.001. So 0.001. That's this one. That's the thousandths. And I put a 9. Now, very important. We can't have empty spots in the middle. You can have empty spots on the end. No empty spots in the middle. So we fill zeros in as placeholders. Okay, so pause the video and see if you can do this next one on your own. Okay, so we put a 9 in the hundreds, a 2 in the ones, 4 in the tenths place, and 6 in the thousandths. And remember, no empty spots in the middle, so fill in zeros. We can only have empty spots on the end of a number.
6. I mixed them.
Okay, so if you go to Google Classroom, you will see I've put a couple things in the stream for you. So the thing on top is a practice activity. So go in there and practice putting these from expanded notation into the standard form, and you can use that chart to help you. Now, once you've done the game, okay, and you can pause this video while you do that, the next thing I need you to do is go do your DOL, which is for a grade. So if you go to Google Classroom, where it says classwork, and find this where it says Tuesday, DOL, expanded notation, you're going to click on the All in Learning link, and it will take you to the site where you can put in your answers, and it will give you your grade when you're done. So, sorry, I know that was a pretty long video, but I'm hoping for those of you that are missing my class and absent, it will help you keep up. Feel free to send me a message through Blooms if you have any questions. Thank you.